Hi guys, George here from Zero Period Productions, and today we're kicking off The Road to Blackwood, a series of videos that will showcase and highlight the different features and content in the upcoming Blackwood chapter for the Elder Scrolls Online. And while Blackwood doesn't launch until June 1st on PC and June 8th on console, I was lucky enough to get a week of hands-on play with an early build, which gave me a chance to write scripts for various videos. With the playtest server now up and running for all players, I was able to go in and record some gameplay. In today's preview video, we're going to be talking about a brand new system being introduced in the Blackwood chapter: Companions. Now, this isn't to be confused with The Companions, the guild based out of Skyrim. Instead, we're talking about in-game followers. This creates a really interesting opportunity to change the way that we approach combat in ESO, both for people who play alone and focus solely on questing, and also for groups who can make use of their companions during dungeons and trials. You'll be able to have companions with you for nearly everything in-game, the only exception being for PvP and for solo arenas, such as Maelstrom and Vadishran Hollows. Outside of this though, your companions can always be with you, and can be summoned or dismissed at will, similar to pets and assistants. When the Blackwood chapter launches, there will be 2 companions available, both of which can be obtained via quests in the Blackwood region. The first of the 2 is Bastion, an Imperial Dragon Knight. He's trained as a mage and feels most comfortable with the staff, but also considers himself handy with the sword and shield. He can be found outside Deepscorn Hollow in the southern part of Blackwood, and completing his quest will unlock him as a follower. The second is Miri, a Dark Elf Nightblade, who prefers the bow but also feels comfortable with twin daggers. She can be found in the northern section of the map at the Volpenaz Doom Vault. Bastion and Miri are not strictly considered Dragon Knight and Nightblade, but their respective class skills come from these 2 base game classes. And despite their comments on weapon preferences, you can ultimately give them any weapon you want, and they'll use it. No problem. When you first unlock a companion, they'll start at level 1, and will level up over time, gaining XP from killing enemies, up to a max level of 20. Unlocking companions is account-based, meaning that once you have unlocked the companions on any one of your characters, you'll be able to summon them on any other character that you have. You can still go through their starting quests on any number of characters you have, however, and this might be necessary in order to move their personal questline along. I like that their starting quests aren't tied to Blackwood's main story, as it makes it easier to do their starting quests, as it'll just be side quests. You'll summon them the same way you would a pet or assistant through your collections menu, and similarly, you can slot them as items on your quick slots. Companions, as well as assistants such as bankers and merchants, are found under the allies category in your collections menu, and you'll only be able to have one active at a time. Once summoned, you can speak with them, which allows you to check on how they feel about you, talk about themselves, and open up their companion menu, from which you assign their skills, gear, and even some cosmetics. An important note, and one that I think will prove invaluable for players, is that companions can be used to perform any of the 3 MMO rules: DPS, healer, or tank. This is something that can make leveling and adventuring easier for countless players, as it means being able to level your healer and building your companion as a damage dealer. Similarly, if you find you're dying too often, you can slot them as a healer to keep you alive longer, or slot them as a tank. That way enemies will be more focused on them instead of you. On top of that, you can have them be a mix of those 3 roles, giving them skills from any of the 3 main trees. In many ways, getting your companions combat ready is similar to how you might get your own characters prepped. From their menu, you're able to show their abilities and gear. And while these companions are based off certain class archetypes, it doesn't mean that they'll have all the exact same skills that you do as a player. Instead, they'll have a mix of the class's skills, as well as unique abilities, including their own personal ultimate. Their skill menu is not as long or as in-depth as the players, which honestly seems like a much more convenient way of doing it. It can take a long time to get your own character combat ready, and if you had to do it on the same level for companions, it would probably get tedious. Your companions have 5 skill slots, as well as 1 ultimate that can be equipped, and will use their skills in combat based upon their placement in the skill bar. So, for instance, skill 1 is given a much higher priority than skill 4 or 5. Their use of these abilities is still dependent on cooldowns, so ultimately, you might want to prioritize skills with higher cooldowns for the earlier slots. That way, once the cooldown is up, they'll use them again, and while those are cooling down, they'll default to the later skills, which have lesser priority. Unlike the player character, they only get 1 skill bar, so you might find yourself swapping out their skills periodically as you change up their playstyle. At level 1, companions will have most of their skills locked, and much like leveling your own character, you'll unlock these over time for them. For their class skills, it means gaining experience through combat, For weapon and armor skills, it means having the corresponding armor type or weapon equipped to unlock the skill line. And for guilds, you'll need to complete a Fighter's Guild daily and Mage's Guild daily in order to unlock the respective line. And for Undaunted, to complete one of Bulgrul's Undaunted challenges. At level 1, companions seem to only have 2 of the 5 skills in their priority bar unlocked, meaning that they'll unlock the others as time goes on. With their ultimate ability, bound to Y on PC by default, once you have it unlocked and slotted, you'll be able to order your companion to use their ultimate in combat. Or, you can set them to use it automatically. At this time, Miri and Bastion only have 1 ultimate ability each, as opposed to players who have numerous options. You can also make use of experience scrolls to accelerate leveling with companions, which might be recommended, as they gain experience at a fraction of the rate that you do. Gear is another important part to companions, and they use a different type of gear. As you quest and travel across Tamriel, you'll get companion-specific gear to drop, the same way that you would get gear to drop for yourself. Companion sets do not have item sets the same way that player gear does. However, their gear does drop with new traits to help bolster their prowess in battle. There are 9 in total, including Quickened, which reduces cooldown, Aggressive, which increases damage, and Bolstered, which reduces their incoming damage. Since these aren't part of any sets, you can mix and match gear with different traits to help increase different stats that you like. And like player gear, their equipment does have rarities, from your basic white gear to epic purple gear. Companion gear will only drop for you from enemies and other world drops when you have a companion traveling with you. So if you're trying to grind out their gear, you'll want to have them active. And now, the big question you guys are probably wondering. No, they are not sworn to carry your burdens. They don't have an inventory of their own and can't be used as extra storage. Sorry guys. Companions aren't just there for combat assistance though. They're meant to act as fully fleshed out characters with their own likes, dislikes, and even personal quests. Their rapport system is central to this, and as you get to know them, you'll learn about what actions they'll look favorably upon and which ones they'll detest. For instance, Bastion is a more chivalrous and knight-like figure, meaning that he looks more favorably upon kinder actions. Miri is a thief by nature, so pickpocketing will go a long way with her. Miri also comments that her father was an antiquarian, so making use of the antiquity system from Greymoor will increase her rapport as well. Depending on your level of rapport, their comments and dialogue will change, from telling you that you're their best friend to telling you that they can't stand you. They won't leave you though, even if their disposition drops to its lowest level, but you will have to deal with them showing utter disdain for you until it improves. At some point they will desummon themselves if your rapport with them is that low.
I've had enough. You're on your own.
But you can resummon them instantly without issue. One thing to note is that their rapport only raises or lowers when you perform these actions and they're traveling with you. So if you go on a murdering spree in town while Bastion's with you, his rapport will go down. However, if you commit that murder spree while he's away, he won't know. I guess he doesn't read the news. From what I've played on the PTS so far, moving the rapport bar does take a while. And I hope this is something the devs address or change prior to the full launch. It just feels like an increase or decrease in rapport makes very little progress on their bar, meaning that it would take forever to truly max it out. And since this is the test server and isn't a final build, this could very well just be a bug. As you increase your reputation with them and complete quests, you'll be able to unlock them as house guests, meaning that you can place them in your player homes. Story-wise, I really enjoy these companions, and I think they help to add some extra character to the game. Both Miri and Bastion are very different people with different upbringings and values, and you get to see this a little bit in their respective starting quests. The way in which they're similar though is that they both care about family, and that seems to be a large part of who they are and parts of their stories. Both Miri and Bastion have 3 personal quests in addition to their starting quest, and these 3 will be unlocked over time based on your rapport with them. You do have the chance to customize your companions' appearances in regards to their outfit style or assign a costume to them. The outfit style for Miri and Bastion is similar to how you would assign your own, by making use of the outfit station and choosing unlocked styles for armors and weapons, as well as dyes. However, they cannot wear hats or helmets. You can't change their hairstyle or apply personalities, skins, or polymorphs. My best guess on this is that the devs ultimately want both companions to still look like themselves, as they are meant to be set characters in the world. In addition to their apparel appearance, you can also assign them a specific mount from all the ones that you have unlocked through their companion menu. We've talked a little bit about companions in terms of unlocks and gear, but let's talk about how this will work across multiple player characters. As I said, unlocking the companions themselves is account-wide. Completing their requisite quest once unlocks them for use on any other characters you have. Your companions' level, their gear, and their skills are all account-wide, meaning that you won't need to level them on 8 different characters, or get gear for them 8 times over. I think that's really smart, as having these elements be character-specific would have made companions way too much of a grind, and probably would have acted as a deterrent for players to use the companion system at all. There are still a few things that are character-specific, such as their assigned mount, their rapport, and their personal questlines. While companions can be used for group content such as dungeons and trials, there is a caveat. For 4-man dungeons, you can have any combination of 4 characters, be that actual players or companions. So for instance, you can have dungeon runs with 2 players and 2 companions, or 3 players and 1 companion. The same goes for trials, where ultimately you're capped at 12 characters, regardless of if they're players or not. Another thing to note is that companions were not created as a way to keep players from being involved in group content. In the end, companions will never perform as well as real people can. In a DPS role, companions will max out at around 10,000 damage per second, which will be fine for dungeons on normal difficulty, and even normal trials as well, but they won't be usable for veteran level dungeons and trials. And they aren't programmed for specific mechanics for dungeons and trials either. In the end, the real endgame will be reserved for players, and players only. The question then becomes, why have companions? Simply put, companions weren't made with endgame in mind, of which, frankly, it is such an absolutely small percentage of the ESO player base that plays the endgame content at all. They weren't made as a way to go through the hardest content in-game, because ultimately that is content that is reserved for players themselves. Instead, companions serve as a way to help solo players, newer players, more casual players, and even those of us who don't have friends to play with all the time. There's many people out there who play ESO strictly for solo questing, the same way that they might play a single-player Elder Scrolls game like Skyrim. However, even in quest content, some players might find difficulty with bosses and certain encounters, and companions serve as a way to help out with those situations. For players who are just starting off in dungeons, you might not want to join with a group of randoms. You might feel more comfortable just hopping on with a friend and pulling your companions out to get you through it. The goal for the dev team in this regard was to use companions as a way to help players build a bit more confidence with the game, so that they might feel more comfortable in group content with other players. In many ways, companions in ESO will function the same way that they might in a slew of different single-player RPGs. ESO won't be the first MMO to make use of a fully fleshed out companion system, but it stands to be incredibly robust. I've always looked to Star Wars: The Old Republic as a great example of how a companion system can be done well in an MMO, and I see a lot of ways in which ESO's system will be similar, and might even improve upon it. Unlike the Old Republic system, ESO's companions have no romance. This is something that players have wanted in the game for a long time, and it was something I was hoping for myself. What I can add to this is that the team knows that people want romance, and they said it was the #1 requested feature when companions were first announced. Hopefully that means we'll see it in the future, as updates for the current companions. Currently, ZeniMax does not have a concrete statement on what to expect from companions in the future. What they have said, however, is that they invest time and money into systems that people enjoy, and seeing as companions were already a long requested feature, I'd say that means there's a good chance we'll see more of them in the future. Whether it's expanding the current 2, adding new ones, or hopefully both, I would love to see more. There are 6 classes in game, and since both Bastion and Miri are firmly based on those 2 classes, it stands to reason that we should wind up with at least 4 more companions as time goes on. One to fill in the role of each of those classes, including the 2 DLC ones, Necromancer and Warden. Personally, I'd hope to see companions added in new zone DLCs and chapters, maybe 1 per zone DLC and another 2 per chapter, and they don't have to limit it to 1 companion per class either. Or they could even create some hybrid classes, or companion-specific ones. I'm not sure if we should expect companions through the Crown Store. Given the amount of dialogue and interaction they have, I can see them being too expensive, or not as fleshed out as the Blackwood ones, in order to try and keep the price more reasonable. For me, this is an exciting addition to ESO, and while it's a part of the Blackwood chapter itself, it's a system that can be carried forward and used outside of the chapter zone. It's something they can grow and expand upon, and add more functionality to. Everything we've talked about today has been on the playtest server, meaning that some of this is still subject to change, patches, and various bug fixes. But by and large, what we've seen here is likely what we can expect with the full release in June. I'm really looking forward to exploring Tamriel with Bastion and Miri, and if you would like to see these adventures for yourself, why not check out my streams at twitch.tv/0periodproductions, where I'll be streaming all of Blackwood at its release. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.